What's going on, guys? Aaron from Top Tier Gaming here, and today I'm coming at you with sort of a recap of the Houston Regional I attended just last weekend, which as of recording this was like 2 days ago. It was 9 rounds of Swiss, and there was like 300 something players. And yeah, I actually took Tri-Brigade right here, as you see by this fractal. And the objective going into it was I wanted to get my 4th top 8, sort of the back to back to back to back. And I wanted to do it with different decks. So I courageously took Tri-Brigade, which I had never played, not one time, maybe an hour on Friday before the event. And my first time actually playing the deck was Saturday. And I started the day off 2-0, and I was like, wow, this deck is not super hard. But as the day went on, I quickly learned that I am definitely inexperienced with the deck. The build isn't how I wanted it to really be. That being said, I did take a first place finish in a side event, and I will also, besides the Tri-Brigade deck profile I'm going to show you guys the deck I won the side event with, and I was able to win this mat. It's super cool. I don't know if you can hear me when it covers my face, but yeah, super awesome mat. And we were able to win that for taking first in the side event. But in the main event, yeah, once I saw that I could no longer top 8, I dropped out. So no back to back to back to back this time, but hopefully we get some more, good events in the future. I will still be showing the deck profiles. So yeah, before we get into it, just letting you guys know, Discord link down below as always, along with all of our other social media links. Also, I'm trying to hit 10,000 subscribers by the end of this year. So if you do like the Yu-Gi-Oh content, be sure to like this video, consider subscribing. It really helps me out in what I do here. Without further ado, let's get into this Tri-Brigade deck profile. Alright, so I did not win the mat being showed with Tri-Brigade. Of course, by the title you can see sort of which deck I got first place within the side event, which I will get to later, but the mat is still awesome, so figured I'd show it off. But I'll go through the Tri-Brigade profile pretty quickly, as this isn't exactly a build I'd continue with going forward, but I did want to show what I was playing, maybe why. The Tri-Brigade experts can sort of tell me why I didn't do as well as I did, and just starting off with the Tri-Brigade monsters, the 3 Fractal, the 3 Kit, the 3 Nerval, and the 2 Carrots. I feel like this lineup super standard. I don't think anything went wrong here. Sort of the next part of the list is where I think things went down instantly is I chose not to play the Lyrilisc engine. Instead, I decided to play Triple Rescue Cat, and I thought Cat, I hadn't played this deck before at all, so my thought process was, Cat is a little easier to play with than the Birds, which, I guess is debatable, but I think most people would agree Birds are harder to play with than Cat, and I was like, this is still a really strong card, and when Cat resolves, it's like insane, but there were definitely problems with this thing getting hand trapped, and I think in the future, I'd play Birds, and I think that's one of the things wrong with my Tri-Brigade list personally, but I do think the Cat variant's fine. I just don't think I would want to play it going forward because it doesn't extend as hard as the Birds do, which I realized later I kind of wanted. On for the hand traps I played, it is 3 Ash Blossom. I think nothing to say here. That's very, very standard. Only 2 Effect Veiler, but 3 Imperm. This was more of a space thing. Like normally I would play 3 and 3, but I wanted to stay 40 cards to see Cat as often as possible, as well as see Forbidden Droplet as often as possible. Maybe I should have played 41 with a 3rd Veiler, but I don't think hand traps were the issue. Then I'm on 1 DD Crow and 1 Nibiru, and Nibiru is a cross-out designator target. I mean, if you're running designator without Nibiru in your deck, there's something went wrong in deck building, unless your deck actually just doesn't care about being nibbed. But initially going into this event, I was like, oh, Tri-Brigade is really hard to Nibiru, but I quickly learned as well that when you're on the Cat version, you run into Nibiru like face first, so that was tough. Yeah, Nibiru hit us pretty hard all day. And then the DD Crow is, of course, an engine hand trap that you search with Sure Egg. So I think it's 11 hand traps. Let's see, that's 5 spot negates with 3 Ash is 8. No, it's 10 hand traps. And yeah, I think 10 hand traps is pretty good. With 3 Droplet, that's 13 go second cards. So I thought that was pretty nice. For spells, we have the 2 Tenki, which, Tenki went to 2, so that's nice. And the 1 Foolish, which is like, another Fractal. This could help you if your Fractal got ashed or whatever. This card actually underperformed really hard. I did not like it. Then we have the 2 Crossout Designator and the 1 Called by the Grave. Hand traps, they're a menace to Tri-Brigade, to say the least. I feel like the Birds play around hand traps a lot better. which is another reason why I might consider moving towards the birds. But in theory, you draw Designator Cat, and it's like super OP. And I wanted to play like a third Designator because, you know, even if you draw multiple and it's dead, you know, Tri-Brigade can put bricks back, which is one of the things I really like about this deck, and one of the things I'll be showing you later, sort of the theory behind it. But I probably should have played 3 Designator, to be honest. Yeah, the called by 3 Droplet. This was one of the reasons I played 40 cards, is I just wanted to maximize the chance that I see this card, because I knew this deck is a little weaker going second, especially without Lyrilisk, so I kind of felt Droplet was a card I needed to see. And I wasn't on Desires, which was also something else, but yeah, I wanted to see Droplet as often as possible, so 40 cards. The 1 Harpy's Feather Duster. This was sort of, you know, my main deck out to Mystic Mine. I realized I had no out main deck, and it was either Cosmic or this, and I went with Harpy's Feather Duster, but honestly, I think Cosmic would have been better. Like, I was going first and then opening this in a lot of games, and I was just drawing it at like the worst times, and Feather Duster underperformed in the main deck so hard. And then, of course, Double Revolt, because this is like the best card in Tri-Brigade for sure. Then the package I chose to play for the theory with Designator, where I was like, oh, I'll just put bricks back. I played the 2 Fusion Destiny and the Celestial and Dasher, and honestly, this package was really good, I think. I had one game where I drew both of these, and I still won that game because I opened Fusion Destiny, and I essentially just used Polymerization from my hand, sent these to grave. This package worked out, like, not terribly. It wasn't amazing, but it was good. Like, Cat gets ashed, you activate Fusion Destiny, and that's like not terrible. The bricks were okay. I don't know if I'd play this going forward, especially in the bird version. I probably wouldn't play it, so it might come out, but this was also the first time I've ever ran a deck with Destroy Phoenix Enforcer in it, so it was a lot of firsts at this regional, and I definitely messed up with Dasher a couple times, being so new to the engine, at least as far as playing it. Like, one time I drew a Rescue Cat, and I just went standby main, and then I was like, oh yeah, Dasher has an effect, that's crazy. But yeah, that is the main deck. Should be 40 cards, unless something is off and I miscounted, but extra deck very quickly, you know, Tri-Brigade Almirage, 2 Ferrigite, 1 Bearbrum, 1 Rugal, and then 3 Shureg. When I'm not playing birds or the Zodiac package, you have a lot of space, and 3 Shureg came up so much. Like, it came up very often, I'll say. Before, my grammar was kind of rough, but 3 Shureg came up often, and I think that's because I was also just inexperienced with the deck. I needed the I needed the third Shureg because I'm sort of inexperienced with the deck, and it came up a lot for me, but I think more experienced Tri-Brigade players don't need 3 of this. 1 Double Dragon Lords. Never summoned him because I just didn't know how. I mean, I summoned him once or twice, but not after full combo because I'd either get hand trapped or I just was making suboptimal plays. 1 Hracefelger, 1 Appaloosa, 1 Access Code, and these are standard. And then I ran Centaria and Zeus because Mason put me on this. You know, he played Tri-Brigade in the past, and when he was on Cat, he ran this package. It didn't come up, but I can see the reasoning. And then DPE was the only good card in my extra deck besides Appaloosa and Shureg. So, yep, that is it for the Tri-Brigade profile. Again, nothing really to talk about my rounds. I didn't do that well. Again, I started the day off 2-0, but quickly fell off, realizing that I needed more practice with the deck. And it wasn't only the deck. I don't think it was the deck's fault entirely. I made some misplays, but I think the reason I was misplaying was I was sort of tilted by me not liking my deck, and it led me not in a good headspace and sort of not prepared in the rounds to play my best. And you know, I still tried to win, but it didn't go our way. So now on to the main event. And for those who don't know, I played Frog Monarch, and for those of you who don't know what this was a deck that existed pretty much from 2010, maybe even earlier, you could say. Maybe you could argue Shadow of Infinity was the first time this was playable, but it didn't really get good till Swap Frog, in my opinion. This is a deck in Edison format, which is a format which is centered around March 2010, I believe. That ban list, and you know, part of Konami's Time Wizard format becoming a real format. We can now play, you know, Edison events at actual regionals, and there was a side event for Edison. It wasn't huge or anything, it wasn't the biggest tournament, but we were able to win this map by taking first with this deck. However, it wasn't this exact list because I was borrowing a friend's deck because I didn't bring my Edison deck, but his list took so much inspiration from mine, as I do have a deck profile already on the channel. And yeah, it was pretty much the same deck with one difference, and I'll explain that difference when I get to it. But yeah, I'll quickly go over this. If you don't know what Edison is, excuse me. If you don't know what Edison is, this is like a good introduction, I guess. You can see what a deck profile looks like from this time. But yeah, if you're not here for Edison, of course, you know, this is an Edison profile at this point. Thanks for watching, but I am going to go over my profile here. And that's triple Caius, just like standard best Monarch. I mean, I don't think he's the best, but like default, people call him the best. I think the best Monarch is Ryza. Like, putting your opponent one turn behind this format is so insane. We maximize 3 and 3 because we want the spot removal Monarchs over things like Mobius and, you know, even Jinzo, Vanity's Fiend. These out threats and guarantee a +1 almost, so we definitely maximize these. Dark Dust is one of the most insane cards in the game at this point, in my opinion. Like, it's one of the safest Monarchs to go for because you contribute set it, and then it is like very hard to out. Like, he's gonna get his pop, like he's not gonna get Solemn Judgmented essentially, or you know, anything like that. Double Light Darkness Dragon. This format is like one of the only formats in Frog Monarch's history where I don't like 3 of this card, just because Vayu Turbo is one of the better decks. I don't want to say it's one of the best decks, but Vayu Turbo is popular, I'll say, and it has a way to just infinitely negate this card. There's actually quite a few cards that do it, like even Quick Draw Synchron in this format can infinitely negate this card. So, but yeah, this is sort of like the biggest floodgate or like FTK in Edison format, to be honest. Like, you summon this and sometimes you just win the game. So definitely wanted to maximize those, and that is 9 tribute summon monsters, which is not bad. Technically there's a 10th, but I'll get to that. And then we have the 3 Substitute, which is obvious. This card has been banned since pretty much 2010, 2011. I think it was 2011 this card got banned finally. It was after Frog FTK. So if you don't know what this card is, fair enough. But essentially this card is an infinite way to summon frogs from your deck. You just tribute a monster, summon a frog, not once per turn. So you go through all of your frogs in one turn if you have this card, plus another monster, and you try to set that up with your deck. So 3 Substitute mandatory. This card is beyond insane, and that's why it's still banned today. Like, if you're wondering why you've never seen this card, it is still banned because how absurd it is. Now, I kind of wish they would give it an errata and bring it to 1 and make it once per turn, so like you have 6 Swap Frogs in your deck technically, but I digress. 3 Swap Frog, my favorite frog, because like this dude was my best friend for about 4 years of my life. I played Frog Monarch from essentially 2010 to 2013 non-stop, even upwards of into 2014. It was just like my favorite deck, and yeah, Swap Frog was always just my main man. 2 Dupe Frog, because you dupe block at the end of your Substitute stuff and it can search Swap Frog. And then 2 Treeborn, which is obviously the synergy with the Monarchs, is the fact that you have an infinite tribute fodder. And that makes 10 frogs. You try to dump them all first turn if possible. And this deck plays, you know, a slow roll strategy, so things like hand traps are very important in this deck. This was sort of the first deck with, like, and more hand traps than it has actual traps. And Tragodia and Gores are just staples in this format. Well, not so much Tragodia, but Gores definitely is a staple. Tragodia in this deck is insane because you normally have a 5 or 6 card hand, and it's super, super good. It can be tribute fodder, and it can come down even when your hands are sort of bricks. And the 3 Battle Fader, which sort of helped this deck's strategy play into itself, being able to slow roll into advantage and not having to worry about being OTK'd or having too much damage pushed on you. And this card is tribute fodder. It's just insane. And then we play like a small Sangan package. So I've always played Sangan in this deck when he was legal. Just because, despite him being a little slow in the same sense as Dupe Frog, he gets you Substitute, which is very important. And then I play a Gale, which is like a cool tuner because it gives me a tuner in the deck so I can Synchro Summon. But also Gale is an insane staple this format, or just about staple. And it also was just like a way to out things like Pachycephalo and Vanity's Fiend, and you know, any threat that's really annoying. Gale's super good. And then I chose to play a Quick Draw Synchron. This is sort of my little Sangan package. Quick Draw's really cool in this deck. Now, this is the difference that I had playing my friend's deck at the event that he let me borrow, and it was a Trap Dust Shoot over Quick Draw Synchron, but personally I like this card because it comes up for a couple of things in the extra deck that I find to be really cool. And there's also just some other things you can do with this card, like actually Soul Exchange and Tribute for this guy, and then use this in your Treeborn Frog to make Drill Warrior, and that's like super, super good. But yeah, he just has actually Secret Synergy in the deck and gives Sangan a little more versatility. So I've been testing him for a while and he's been working pretty okay. 3 Soul Exchange. This is the best tribute card in my opinion in the deck, well, besides Brain Control. But I like it more than Econ because it requires nothing to actually be usable, which is super good. You lose your battle phase, but outing Vanity's Fiend and Pachycephalo is super important. So definitely maximizing soul exchange. Also, this card and Substitute is like 2-card full combo, and it's like the dirtiest combo in the world. Like, say your opponent sets Raikou, you just soul exchange it. Attempt to summon Substitute. If it doesn't get Solemn Judgmented, you just priority tribute their Raikou and full combo. It's almost guaranteed game every single time. Then the 2 Econ, which this card with Tri-Brigade Frog is a little ridiculous. So if you don't know, essentially it's just like brain control when you have Tri-Brigade Frog, and then actual brain control because this card's insane. Then we have the 1 MST and the 1 Heavy Storm. Yeah, this card has also been banned for quite a while, but it is just like worse Harpy's Feather Duster in most cases. Yep, these are your back removal. Frog Monarch hate back row, so we side a lot more, but yeah. And then the draw spells. Now this is something I never like ever played in Frog Monarch outside of Edison format, because the second Substitute gets banned, I think all 5 of these cards are awful. But with Substitute in the format, I think these cards are amazing. So we have the 2 Pot of Avarice, which, I mean, you Substitute. Like if you Substitute combo and have this, you can just shuffle back 5 frogs, draw 2 free cards, and then just hope they're not frogs, and then still go full combo because Substitute is infinite. So this card ends up being Pot of Greed in most situations. I've had games where I could use both of these first turn, and it's just so disgusting. Puts you so far ahead. And yeah, this card is a disgusting draw card as long as Substitute resolves, or late game, of course. I side these out going second because it's harder to play going second, but yeah. And then 3 Upstart Goblin, which aren't actually, I don't think these are good because of, 37 card deck logic. I mean, it's nice, your deck does revolve around seeing Substitute or Swap Frog as fast as possible, so Upstart is good as like a 37 card deck, but that's not why we run it. The reason I run it is because once you Substitute 1 card combo, or technically 2 card combo, is technically 27 cards, and after you Substitute, almost every single thing you draw is a blowout, and Upstart becomes a lot better in my opinion in those situations, because again, it's more like 27 card deck instead of 37 card deck, which is actually insane. So yeah, that is the main deck. Then we ran the Armory Arm, the Magical Android, the Catastor. These are the 5s. Armory Arm's the 4 for 6s. And of course, we have access to these through the fact that we run Gale and also enemy controller. So then we run the 1 Brio and the 1 Goyo because these are your 6s. 1 Black Rose, which you almost never need in this deck because Monarchs usually do Black Rose's job anyways. But if they're setting a lot of back row, like game 1, this could be really good. The Red Dragon, the Thought Ruler, the Colossal Fighter, and 2 Stardust. These are 8s, pretty standard to run multiple Stardust. I mean, you're not making these most of the time, and in fact, I did not even have an extra deck at the event because Hunter did not have one. We were still able to win because Frog Monarch is one of the few decks that doesn't need this extra deck, but it did make Gale a little awkward. And then 1 Armor Master, because we are running Gale, so we can actually make this. But mostly, like, you could enemy controller your opponent's Blackwings in the Blackwing matchup, like Econ their Bora or Shura, and then special Gale from your hand as an extender. Make Armor Master and still tribute for a Monarch. It's so dirty with enemy controller, which is why Armor Master is in the extra deck. Then we're running the 1 Drill Warrior and the Nitro Warrior. These come up with your quick draw. Nitro Warrior plus enemy controller is just like game so many times, which is why I really like the quick draw. Like, you combo this with Econ, or like even brain control, and it's just absolutely disgusting. Like, because his effect revolves around activating a spell. I play so much Yu-Gi-Oh that the word revolve has become resolve, so that's tough. But yeah, Nitro Warrior, like, plus a spell is like easy to get game with, and it's kind of free. Like, you Econ a level 2 potentially, and you just quick draw with it, or you Econ a level 1, and then you're Treeborn with quick draw works like this. Like, this package comes up rarely, but when Drill Warrior or Nitro Warrior comes up, they're pretty game winning because Drill Warrior and Frog Monarchs is very unfair. And then 1 Chimera Tech because we side Cyber Dragon, and you just take Machina Gadgets like whole board. So that's pretty nutty. But yeah, that wraps it up for the Frog Monarch first placed deck profile and Tri-Brigade scrub out deck profile. Again, Tri-Brigade enthusiasts, you can leave down in the comments what I should have done differently. I kind of know, in my opinion, what I would change with the list, being add birds and actually have practice with it. Any Edison format enthusiasts, you can try to leave in the comments below. Tell me why Frog Monarch isn't the best deck in the format, because I'm just going to tell you that I think it is. It's just something, I've sort of said for a long time. Like, if you watch my first Frog Monarch deck profile, I will probably always say this is the best deck in Edison because it's like my favorite deck, and every time I play it, I tend to do well with it, so maybe some confirmation bias, but Yeah, Frog Monarch is absolutely insane. Now, there is Frog Heroes in Edison format that I do think is really good and gives Frog Monarch a run for its money because Miracle Fusion is overpowered, because Absolute Zero is overpowered. But the consistency of Frog Monarch is just so good. And yeah, it's just so powerful too. So Frog Monarch, you know, it's my favorite deck if you wanted some trivia. But if you did enjoy this video, leave a like, subscribe. This has been Aaron from Top Tier Gaming, and stay tuned for more Yu-Gi-Oh content. Bye, YouTube.